What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Who God Created, the podcast. I am your podcast host, Alemtshay Brown. If you are watching on YouTube, hey girl, you have not skipped a beat, okay? Because 11, 12, 13, 14, and 14 have been uploaded, and now this is the 15th episode. For my listeners, I am truly sorry. Y'all forgive me for not uploading 14 as an audio, but I promise y'all that it's worth going to look at, because I had the very first podcast guest, Hannah Chikora. I think that's how you say your name. If I mispronounced it, Lord, Hannah, please forgive me, okay? Because I don't like mispronouncing people's names. But episode 14 was actually a very good episode. It was a really candid conversation between two friends, and I keep saying that, but it really was. I think for her, I was going to have her as my first podcast host. That was always in the plans. And when I first told her, she was like, "What? Me? On a podcast? What am I going to say? I need my Bible. I need this. I need that." And so when we hung out that day, it was crazy because I had thought, like, literally exactly how the podcast episode came out is exactly how I envisioned it in my head, as a very impromptu type of episode. And so for it to happen like that, it just really made me very grateful to God that it happened like that, because she real camera shy. Like, I've never known her to be camera shy, but you know, people grow and people change. I mean, she said from her perspective, she said she's always been camera shy, but I knew her in a time when she wasn't. So it was a surprise to me that she didn't like being on camera, but that just made it even more special that she was the one that suggested that we go on and do the episode. So I say all that to say that it was a very organic episode, a very candid conversation between two friends who love Christ, to be completely honest. And just a little background about me and Hannah's relationship: we met doing business together, and we were in a business that had a very toxic culture that was putting people against each other, that was very competition led, very just not the healthiest environment to be in. We learned quality skills. I am not going to lie about that. We learned quality skills, but it was very toxic. It got very toxic towards the end of what we were doing, and for us to come out in that transition of our lives when we weren't really friends. We weren't really friends at that time. We knew each other, we hung out with each other, but I wouldn't say that we were like friends like we are right now. And so just to see both of us go through this like crazy transition with God and transformation, and just seeing each other change and being able to still be friends through the points of our walk with Christ, or points of just being people where it was like, you're not the best person right now, you know. And I'm talking for myself as well, like, I don't know, I don't really like this about you, you know. But you know, friends that grow through every phase with you is a blessing, and I just don't want anyone to take that for granted. If you have a friend that you truly love, you truly enjoy, that person speaks life into you, but also has the ability to see the points in which God is trying to improve you, and you're kind of hesitant, or you are reluctant to it, or you're in resistance of it, that person that's just going to push you, move you, grow you into purpose. Like, we are human beings. We're not meant to be alone, whether that's romantically, platonically. Yes, we can. All we got is King Jesus. All you need is King Jesus. Yes, for sure. But Jesus also sends people into your life to grow, to nurture you, and the enemy will also send people. So just be grateful for the individuals that you do have in your life. And that's one thing that has really been coming up in my life, is the importance of the company you keep. Because as we know in the Bible, it says power and death lies, the power of life and death lies in our tongue. And so it's so important to be around people that speak greatness into you, that speak into your purpose, that speak into those doubts that you may have, that they can turn those doubts around. They can encourage you. It's important to have those people in your life, because the people that we have in our life, the people that we know, can advance us in different places. I'm not saying that every relationship is transactional, because it's not, but just understanding like who you surround yourself with is so very important. But before we get into the episode, y'all know every single time I have to, catch y'all up on what's really going on. What Jeezy back up in the game already? What happening? Can we really just talk about the fact that Drake makes great music? I am sorry, I'm not a Drake fan. But Drake makes great music. Like, he will make music that will keep you in your feelings. He'll make music that make you want to, like, just dance. Make music that just make you want to go get it. Like, he has great music. I'm sorry. I'm not promoting Drake's music. I'm just saying that he has great music. Anyway, over the last week or so, y'all, like, God has really been like transforming my mind and really talking to me. And one thing about it, God often talks to me through me. And I know that sounds like, girl, what are you talking about? But literally, I'll say something, or I'll have an encouraging word, or I'll go on social media and say something, and literally God will repeat that same thing, or that will be the theme of a week or over a couple of weeks. And I'm like, God, why you keep showing me that? And that's exactly, I've talked about this before, that's exactly how I know God is talking to me. And one of the main things that he's been talking to me about is the importance of your thoughts. Because I had just got out of this, like, what I felt was a spiritual attack on me, and it was very like scary to be back in that mindset, because that mindset is a mindset that I haven't experienced since the beginning of the year, since everything went down with me having to leave Houston and everything like that. I haven't felt like defeated since then. And so I started feeling like that. I'm like, bro, I have conquered these thoughts. I do not think like this anymore. I don't know why this is coming up again. I don't know what's happening. And I was feeling just very overwhelmed. And I kind of opened up a little bit about it on my TikTok and my Instagram. So, of course, y'all know I got to plug that in. If you do not follow me on TikTok or Instagram, definitely do that on both my Instagram, my personal Instagram and TikTok, and the business Instagram and TikTok. If you are looking on YouTube, it is on the screen. And if you are listening, it'll be in the description. But that's beside the point. Like I said, I kind of opened up about just having overwhelm. And then it was just like the enemy was like, final round, like, finish her. When you playing Mortal Kombat, I think that's that game, but when you playing Mortal Kombat and it's like you on that, you ain't got no more energy, or the person that you fighting don't have no more energy. It's just like, and then it's like, oh yeah, this next hit is really finna take you down. It was like, finish her. I feel like the enemy tried to do that. He did try to do that to me, because I had a very terrible attack in my sleep, y'all, and it was very real. And it just made me appreciate the fact that I am protected by God. It literally solidified that I am protected by God, and that's not nothing that I take for granted. But in this dream, basically, I'm not going to tell y'all the entire dream, but in this dream, it was a part of it where there was this specific being. I'm not going to say it was a person, because it was definitely a being. It was a being that was just speaking against everything God has told me, everything that, like, basically it was a personification of my negative thoughts, like literally speaking the most negative things over me. And I'm like, I woke up crying, bawling, and I just felt like I was literally like, God did not give me a spirit of fear, but a power and love and a sound mind. Like, I'm reciting truths, as many truths as I can, because I'm like, enemy, you are not going to take me. I'm sorry. You can't have me. You cannot have me. And ever since then, God has just been assuring me, like, listen, your thoughts become things. How you think about yourself, as a man thinketh, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. And so I just want to encourage anybody that is going through that going through a time of like your negative thoughts getting to you. You have to understand that you are the master of your mind, that you have control over your thoughts. As much as your thoughts want to tell you differently, or your brain wants to tell you differently, you have to truly understand that you can control your thoughts. If you think that you can accomplish what God says set before you to accomplish, you are going to do everything in your power and call on God and make sure that you're in alignment with God to get that done. If you feel like you can't, you're going to let your negative thoughts, literally, it's like a confirmation bias. I don't know if y'all ever heard of confirmation bias, as far as like going through psychology, but confirmation bias is basically when we look for things to confirm a thought that we already have. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this, every single thought that or anything that tells you that you can't do it, you're going to use that like, see, I said I knew it. I knew I can't do this. Or something happens and something goes wrong, you'll be like, I knew I can't do this. Instead of if a situation happens where you truly do believe in yourself and something goes wrong, you're like, oh, this is just a learning lesson in what I'm going through. And that's an important thing to understand, that regardless of what your circumstances or anything else look like, we have to really understand that God has us exactly where he needs us to be. And where he has you is for a reason. It don't have to make sense to you. And that's why we are instructed not to lean on to our own understanding. Do not lean on your own understanding. And there's another part of the Bible. I have to find it and try to put it into the video. But there's another part of the Bible that just talks about how leaning on our own understanding can, in a sense, like drive us crazy. And that's true. Like trying to figure everything out that God is doing, we have to understand that his thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. And so when we get to points where we're trying to figure out what God is trying to do, or why exactly he told you not to do something, or why exactly he told you to do something, then you will kind of like delay the obedience of what God is telling you to do, one, and two, kind of drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what your creator is doing, in that moment. He is the only one that can see your life from beginning to the end. And so it's just so very important that we understand that you're not going to be able to figure everything out. Now, God may give you an inkling on why he did a certain thing at a certain time or whatever, and it's beautiful when we have those moments when he does actually reveal to us why he had to do a certain thing. But sometimes, maybe 95% of the time, you're not going to know why he's doing a certain thing while he's doing it. And that's the beauty in trusting God, because if you truly trust him, it's like, God, even though this does not make sense right now for what I thought my life would be, I trust you enough and know that you have plans to prosper me and to not forsake me. Like, God is not going to forsake you. That's one thing about him. And if we're touching on obedience is very, very important. And I've been reading, yes, Hannah, I'm mentioning it again, I've been reading the Awe of God again, and it gets to this chapter or this section of the book that just talks about obeying God. And it says, obey God immediately, obey God when it hurts, obey God when it doesn't make sense, obey God to the finish. And it's another one. And so one thing I've been practicing is obeying God immediately, because I don't know about y'all, I'm the type of person that's like, gotta know why I gotta do something or why I need to stay from something before I just don't do it. And I feel like I was definitely a rebel as a teenager, just because I feel like if you're telling me to do something, then I want to know why you telling me not to do it. Like, why is it not good for me to do? Like, what are the consequences? If you're just telling me to do something just to do it, or not to do something just to not do it, then it's like, okay, well, I'm just about to go see for myself. That's the type of attitude I had. And I realized that I began to carry that type of attitude into my relationship with God. And that would just get me into cycles of getting into stuff and literally being like, oh my God, like, I don't want to be in this situation. I knew I should have been in this situation because God told me not to get in this situation. And now, me being a human with flesh, I'm trying to figure out a reason, or I'm trying to figure out the reason that God told me not to come here in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And so after that happened like 3-4 times, I'm like, okay, like I cannot continue to do this, because every single time that I do it, I'm getting hurt. So if God says not right now, just let that not right now be not right now. If he says no, let that no be no. And if he says yes, let that yes be yes, whatever it is. And it may be as simple as something as it may be something as simple as whether you should go to this store or that store, or whether you should leave at this time, but you feeling like, someday, right, I'm gonna leave at another time. You know what I'm saying? It can be something as simple as that, or something that is a career changing thing, or something that you should be doing in your career. Literally, as I was sitting outside, I was thinking, like, I was sitting outside and just letting God help me plan October, the rest of the year, because I'm definitely in this space of my life where it's very very important to me to set goals and finish out this year strong. And so as I'm sitting there with God, I'm just like, God, I need to know what it is that you want me to do, because I wrote something down regarding my career and what I'm doing. It came to pass the same day that I wrote it down, literally the same day that I wrote it down. I'm just like, oh my God, like, wow. Okay. And so as I'm sitting there, I'm like, God's telling me the direction of my YouTube channel, and he's telling, and then I hear him say something about the direction of my YouTube channel. And as much as I wanted it to be something different, I had to check myself and say, wait, remind yourself of what that book said that you read, obey God immediately. So instead of like trying to search for every single answer in the book as to why I should be going in this route of my YouTube channel, I just said, you know what, God, like, I'm just gonna let you have it, because literally anything you tell me to do is only for my good and your glory. And so I'm just going to trust you. So that's what my week has been. How has y'all's week been? If you are if you are watching on YouTube, definitely let me know like how your week has been, what's been going on with you and everything like that, because this year, it's 3 more months in this year, and I just want to encourage somebody. I guess this is just going to be an encouraging episode, but I just want to encourage somebody that you can do it. Like whatever it is that God has put on your heart that you have not done in the last 9 months of the year, take the last 3 months to get it done. And it sounds like, oh my God, how am I going to do something that was supposed to take me a year and in 3 months? How do you know? We at the beginning of the year, you may have gotten this revelation that this is something that you were going to do this year, and then you decided not to do it. And you never know. If you would have done it at the beginning of the year, who's to say that God wasn't going to make something happen with that in a week or 2 weeks or a month or 3 months? So you just never know what God can do, because we serve a God of the impossible. And so if we understand that, then you will put one foot in front of the other. Consult God in everything you do, acknowledge him in all your ways, and watch how he will work in your life, because we got a lot of stuff planned for the end of the year. We got a lot of stuff going into the new year, a lot of stuff that we are working on right now. Like, I'm just in this space of wanting to really conquer this whole weight thing that I have been dealing with for my entire life. For as long as I can remember, my weight has always been a thing that has always been brought up, has always been said, has always been talked about, has always been a thing that has been in the front, back, middle, all parts of my mind. And so it's just something that I wanted to conquer this year, to show myself that 1, I could do it, and 2, that with God, I can literally do anything. And so when I get to those times where I don't want to continue, or I feel like discouraged, or I'm listening to the negative thoughts or the negative words of somebody else, I always have to go back to the fact that I'm doing this with God. God has set me on this assignment, and I'm going to see it through to the end. And that was another thing that the Awe of God was talking about, is being obedient to the end, being obedient to the finish, because the God that we serve, he sent Jesus. And Jesus, we have to realize, I don't think we often like reflect on the fact that Jesus could have said no, that Jesus could have prevented some of the things that went on, or that like the whole thing of Jesus could have went, and Jesus being crucified and resurrected could have been completely different. It could have been completely different, but he knew the purpose that he was on this earth for, and he finished it out to the end. And so that is what the book was kind of talking about, is just never quitting. Like, you don't have an option to quit. I don't know who needs to hear that. No, I know exactly who needs to hear it. It's somebody who that has been like doubting themselves, doubting God's ability to work through them, doubting what God has put in them, listening to or going over old patterns that they've gone through, and keeping record of wrongdoing, not only through themselves or but also other people. And it has been stopping you from doing and walking in the fullness of who God created you to be. And that's why I'm here, to encourage you, to let you know that you need to let it go so that you can truly be who God created you to be. Simple and plain. That's what this podcast is about. That's what I'm here to do. That's what I feel like I was here on this earth to do, is to help women believe believe, it help women and men believe in themselves and walk in the authority that God has given them. If you are watching on YouTube, my earring did definitely just come off, but yeah, y'all, I hope this episode encouraged you. I feel like I haven't sat down and actually recorded an episode, and it has been 2 weeks. Like, this is the second week since I haven't, like, the second week that I didn't sit down and actually record an episode, because I recorded the last episode very impromptu. But being on this podcast, Mike, it's therapy to me, and I hope it's therapy to you in some way, shape, or form, that this episode inspires you to move out of what you have been telling yourself that you are, the lies of the enemy, what the world is expecting from you, what you think that the world where you should be right now, and just align yourself with who God says that you are, and truly become who God created. And on that note, y'all, I truly do love y'all. One thing that we are going to let go of is taking on the emotions of other people. And one thing that we're going to step into is just being the beautiful butterfly that God has created me to be. And so on that note, I love y'all, and I hope that y'all have a great week. If you are watching, then let me know what you liked about this episode in the comments. If you are listening, make sure you rate the episode, share on your social media, and at Who God Created. But I will see y'all later. As I always say, that ain't what I say. I say I love you, but Jesus loves you more. Peace.